Hey guys, how are you? How are you? I'll give everybody a couple of minutes to pour in here. Hope everybody's doing well. Let me know if you can hear me. I usually don't do the background here. I usually just do the avatar. So if y'all can hear me, just write something in the chat. If you can't, hey Cookie, how are you? You doing okay? Absolutely. How are you, Lisa? Yes, Lisa, just as soon as you mentioned, that receipt, um, that bank receipt that was in Candace's name for it was like for $96,000 or something like that, or $46,000. I remembered it. It was from I don't remember what bank it was, but I found the app that it was made up from. And it's real easy to print those receipts from that app, but bank ATMs, your name is not printed on it. And you could tell where it was just a fake receipt. But I made a video on exactly how the receipt was manufactured. Hey Annette, how are you? It's good to see you. I usually don't do afternoon lives at all. This is very unusual for me. I'm usually a nighttime person. But I had been to the ear doctor today. So I've had tubes in my ears so many times in my life that when my eardrum tore this time, when it ruptured and tore this time, it kind of concaved in from the negative pressure. And they're going to have to send me to a specialist that only does eardrums down in Birmingham and let him completely rebuild me a brand new eardrum. There was nothing that the ear, nose, and throat doctor could do at this point. So I've got two choices. I can either learn to adapt to society with one working ear, kind of like I've been doing, and that's no fun. Being deaf in one ear is absolutely not what I want to do. Or I can go see this otologist, I believe is what he called him, and have my eardrum completely rebuilt. It is just amazing what they can do now. I did not even know that they could do that. I just kind of assumed that I would just, if there was nothing that the ear, nose, and throat doctor could do, that I would just be stuck like this. So But you know, when they place tubes in a baby's ear, they puncture the eardrum. And I've had tubes in my ear since I was an infant, up through adulthood 6 times. So that was 6 holes that had been punctured in my eardrum. And then when it ruptured and tore this time, it was like all those small holes just kind of opened up into one big hole. Oh, it was very painful. I thought I was just going to die when it happened. And I wasn't even at home when it started hurting. I was in a van on my way back from Summer's Vigil, and we were somewhere, I think in Georgia, when it actually started hurting. So I think that it would be in Adam Montgomery's best interest to talk to these investigators and tell them where this baby's body is at. That's what would be in his best interest to do. If not, they are just going to keep piling charges on him until they find a way to fry him. Or at least that's what I hope that they do. June 15th, 2022, they went back to the apartment in Manchester, New Hampshire, where Adam had been living. And they come out with the refrigerator and the freezer just taped up. And I knew when they pulled that refrigerator out that they had found something. And they never said what. But for them to pull a refrigerator out and take that into evidence, they absolutely 100%, without a doubt, found something associated with Harmony in that refrigerator. They would not have wasted the time, energy, or the manpower, or the storage space. Let's not forget that. The storage space. And I believe that refrigerator is the link that they found to Harmony to be able to make this the investigation that they announced today. Harmony's case is, first of all, let me apologize to you guys, because I have put out a couple of things on Harmony, but I have failed to do her the justice that she deserved. I have not followed her case or kept up with it the way that I have Summers. I have always had the state of mind that you could do more for a child devoting your time to just one case at a time. That if you get too many pokers in a fire, that you start getting your thoughts and your evidence mixed up. So I want to apologize to you guys for not giving her case the attention that it did deserve. But there were plenty of people covering her case. This was absolutely, without a doubt, a CPS fail. This was absolutely, without a doubt, a parent fail. I understand that her mom may have been an addict of some sort or had issues, some sort of legal woes, is why she either lost custody or gave up custody. And then she later got clean. But ultimately, it was Adam's responsibility to provide food, shelter, clothing, safety, love, all that stuff to Harmony. And if he could not have provided those things, especially the safety and the love, then he should have backed up and relinquished that over to somebody else. He should have been man enough to stand up and say, I cannot provide these things for her. Evidently, he did not do that. So this is absolutely, without a doubt, parent failure on both ends. This is a step-parent failure. Because evidently she did not stand up for this child either. And then I understand that the mother tried to come back in. And at the time that the mother come back in, she could not locate Harmony. And if I'm wrong, y'all correct me on this, because I have played catch up with this case. Done some, like a quick crash course. So she tried to come back in and get Harmony. And at that point, she could not locate her. She could not reach her by telephone. And after X amount of time, not being able to reach her by telephone, by FaceTime, in person, whatever, she started trying to alert the authorities, trying to alert CPS. And I don't understand why, when they were first alerted, they did not go out there and try to make contact. Hey, Kimberly. Hey, Cat's Eye. How are you? I guess they looked at it as a parent that lost custody that was trying to interfere. And they looked at it like she did not have any business knowing where Harmony was at. She no longer was a part of knowing where Harmony was at. I'm really not understanding why nobody would listen when she says, hey, something's wrong here. Nobody in the family has seen her. Nobody's been able to reach her. Nobody's been able to talk to her on the phone. Nobody's seen her FaceTime. It's not just me. It's other family members. Something's up. They ignore the calls. They ignore the welfare checks. They ignore for a very long time before the bells actually start ringing. And if I was her, I would sue the hell out of every one of them. That's my opinion. Because just like in the Oakley Carlson case, it's the same thing. She's got foster parents over here saying we're seeing marks on her, we're seeing this happen, we're seeing that happen, and they're going, oh, well, you're just mad because you don't have custody. You're mad because we did not give you the rights to her, and you're just meddling. You're just meddling. And they ignore all the signs. They ignore all the calls. They ignore all the welfare checks. And then, bam, this child's gone. They say this child's been eaten by wolves. Something is terribly wrong. Our system is broken. The system is quick to rush in and grab these kids. But they're not so quick to go back and do checkups on them, or when they put them back in these homes. It's like now I have heard, and I don't have any proof of this, but I have heard through the rumor mill that Candace has been getting the boys for overnight visits and stuff. What in the world is CPS thinking? Because we have seen her drunk with tinfoil hats on. We have seen her do some absolute crazy things in the last few months. And sober has not been one of them. Matter of fact, both of these parents have out and out refused any kind of help, any kind of rehab. Now, I understand that she's in rehab now, but that's now. Hey, Channel Surfer, how are you? But we need a system reform on CPS, because it is looking like it has quite possibly cost 2, maybe 3 children their lives. 2 for sure. We've got Oakley and we've got Harmony. And if these states would start making examples out of these parents, and quit playing with them, we might not have 30 missing children at any given time. I think the statistics are something like 71%, 75% of all reported missing kids come up missing by their own parents. And just by watching, and if y'all have noticed, I don't report on the Michael Vaughn case, and it's not because I'm not watching it. I do watch that silly stuff. And I'm watching his own parents go from creator to creator. And every time they tell the story, something changes. His own parents are changing the narrative. His own parents are changing the story. Just like Don and Candace have. Why would the parents want the story to change? Why do we want chaos and confusion in a missing child's case? J.D. Huff says, although there looks like there's similarities to the Summerwells case, we cannot make any connections. Now, when he says we cannot make any connections, that does not mean just the Fruitland Police Department. That means the FBI card team, the Idaho State Police, all these agencies cannot make a direct link. Correct? But I can tell you who's trying real hard to make it appear. The Tim Mullins team. And why would the Tim Mullins team want to make it appear like there's similarities? Well, the media manager would sure like for it to appear like there's similarities in it, so there is reasonable doubt when they try to prosecute Don and Candace. So when y'all are over here in people's chats that are trying to make connections that aren't really there, keep in mind that all you're doing is helping the defense build reasonable doubt when it comes time to prosecute them. Does that make sense? Makes sense to me. If all these federal agencies, all these state agencies, all these local agencies, if they cannot find any link, not a one, what makes you think a YouTuber on Tim Mullins' team can? Well, sure, it can be manufactured. You can tell it to a room full of 70 people enough times. Dress it up like a cow, and it might give milk. What the two have in common is irresponsible parents that is known to do drugs and leave their kids unattended. That's what they have in common. But I certainly am not going to help Tim Mullins build reasonable doubt against these people who have neglected and abused their children. Hey, Smiley. Let me see if I can pull these up. Let me show y'all something. When I done that video the other day, Chris McDonough, I run across some of the first pictures of summer. That was ever released. Let's see if we can run through these right quick. It's not going to pick up my phone, is it? No, it's not going to pick up my phone, really. I hate that. Let's see. And it doesn't give me a choice about, there's one. Y'all see that around her eye? Y'all see that around her eye? You see it? Moving on. Let's go to the next one. It's just going to take me a minute to get this to pick up my phone. Hang on. You really can't see that one around her eye because of the way my phone is, but and I want you to look at that child. That does not even look like the same child that we're dealing with now. See it? Y'all see that? There we go. They're on Chris McDonough's page. He's still got all these originals. And then we jump to dealing with what looks like this child. And there's still a black spot on her head. Oh, the question is how many children are we dealing with here? But these are all on Chris McDonough's page, and it was the video that is something about critical. It's the second video that he has on Summer. Critical 40 minutes or critical timeline. And he talks about how disgusting these bruises are on this kid. And this was before anybody had time to go and remove these marks. You know, over the months, these pictures has been airbrushed, and all these marks has been removed by Tim Mullins before they were put on Don Wells' family official. But Chris has still got the originals. In case anybody's forgot, this is what the child run around looking like. So before you support Tim Mullins' narrative and his reasonable doubt, go back and look at the real pictures that Chris has got of Summer Wells, or what we believe to be Summer Wells. Those kids were bruised, they were banged, they were burned. I don't care how many ways you line it up. And the one picture that I showed you from sideways, Chris said that there was no way that it could be photoshopped and lined up that perfect. And everybody seen that dungeon. So before you support a narrative of reasonable doubt, and by supporting that narrative of similarities to Monkey's case, you remember that that is a Tim Mullins narrative. And when you support that narrative, that's what you're supporting is reasonable doubt for Don and Candace. Yeah, I know my green screen is making it disappear, and I don't know. It gives me two choices on here. It's either this or the avatar. My channel is not bringing in enough income for me to upgrade. So I'm still using the free version of StreamYard. So I'm not able to upgrade at this point. Hopefully soon, as the channel's growing, we just hit 2,000 members. Hopefully soon, as everybody starts subscribing, that's one of the first things that I want to do is upgrade the StreamYard so that we have better quality videos and stuff. That's one of the first things that we want to do. Jody Sue's phones. And she talks about clean phones. And she talks about dirty phones. How do we even know that those texts that she has gave to us, that is between her and Andy, or her and Voldemort, how do we even know that those texts are real? How do we know that those are not just manufactured text that she has sent to herself? Oh, thank you, McBro. I really appreciate that. We'll definitely put that towards the channel. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. But how do we even know that those texts are real? We've not seen the other end of the conversation. We've not seen Andy's phone. And anybody that is sending him money to, oh my goodness, y'all need to close your wallets to Andy and Jody Sue. Hey, Mary Red. You know, there's people sending him money to help buy a trailer. Them people, his people are very well off, and they're one of the biggest landholders in that area. And they have houses, they have trailers, they have property. And why? I think one of the very few things that Jody Sue has been honest about is about them, not just him, them selling drugs. I don't know, about the sedating part, but I do think that it was told very early on in Discord about the boys going over to Jody Sue's and getting weed. Like, just as soon as Jody Sue started coming to YouTube, that was one of the things that she was telling then. So I do believe that there was drug selling going on, whether it was weed, pills, it doesn't matter. Those kids were minors. And that is one thing that she has said that I do believe. I do believe that they are guilty of that, and I mean they, not just Andy. Jody Sue too. And Andy said, yeah, I sold them weed, but the last year that we were there, Jody Sue was the one that had the most contact and the most dealings with Don and Candace. So he says she's the one that was dealing with them. We've even heard Crystal Spencer talk about, them throwing joints down on the counter and the kids walking by and picking it up, and, the kids smoking weed and stuff in the house. So what makes you think that it wasn't the same way with pills or anything else? If the kids are drinking and the kids are smoking weed and the parents don't care, what makes you think that the parents would care if they took a hydrocodone or a Xanax or anything else? If parents don't care, parents don't care. I'm sure that Summer walked by, Jose talked about her just walking by and grabbing Mountain Dews and stuff. I'm sure that she was walking by and grabbing beer too, and she was walking by and grabbing anything else that she could get her hands on as well. Especially if, they were putting alcohol in sippy cups and stuff. You got to remember the chances of those kids having, the fetal alcohol syndrome. And the only thing that would calm them down was alcohol and drugs. I do not doubt one bit that Jody Sue was telling the truth about that. That's one of the few things that she said that I wholeheartedly believe. So I don't see where anybody on YouTube should give him a dime, or her, either one. Yesterday I put out a video where she was calling her subscribers dipshits. She said, I would have been better off sitting at home waiting on one of those dipshits to send me something crazy. But anyway, back to the point that I was making, was how do we even know that any of those texts are the real deal? Because just like those receipts that I was telling Lisa about that could be easily manufactured by an app, there are apps out there that manufactures Facebook Messenger messages. There's apps out there that manufactures text messages. So how do we know? We don't. But I had put out a video that asked her to uncover what she had blacked out. The name that she had blacked out. And she didn't. I never got a response from that. And it said, did you show blank pics and tell him what was going on? And this was to Andy. Did you show blank pics and tell him what was going on? And this was June 15th. Andy said, yeah. Jody Sue said, any issues? Andy said, him saying, where was I? And me telling him I'm on my way, not much. And I told you to be on time. Well, what pics on June the 15th? And what was going on? And the reason that I asked if this was important and who the name belongs to, and the reason I asked for it to be uncovered was because I knew that her grandpa had left her land. I already knew that. I said that months ago. And I've been telling y'all this whole time that she had bought a cabin. One that you could put together like a prefabricated cabin. I assume that that's going up on that land. But the reason that this is so important is because if underneath that black on these texts, if that name is Ed, and that belongs to Edward Andrew Redmond, he is the largest landholder on Ben Hill. And where Scott E. Skulls showed y'all that the road dead ends back there and there's a gate and you cannot go any further past that gate? The road keeps going, but there's a gate. And we've wondered what was past that gate. That loops all the way, it would loop all the way back around to Simpson. I've been told that there's a couple of old sheds and stuff back there. And it's another Andy. He goes by Andy. Edward Andrew Redmond. He goes by Andy Red. When you're doing searches on this guy, one of the aliases that also comes up under this guy's name is George Andrew Redmond instead of George Andrew Bernard. So it makes you wonder how much of their stuff is intertwined together. And it seems like every time something comes up in Beech Creek, he's involved. When Fred shot Roy Fannin, he shows up and he's making statements. And he's making statements against Roy Fannin. Now, another thing that's interesting about this guy is he owns land all the way to Alabama. He owns property in Mississippi. He owns property in Alabama. He owns property in Louisiana. He's very interesting guy. So, if you was going to dispose of something in Beech Creek that you did not want anybody to know about, it would probably be back behind that gate on that private property. So, I'm very interested to know, and I'm going to ask again, Jody Sue, remove the black mark and show us whose name is under that text. If those texts are real, show me that does not say Ed, Edward, Andy, or Red. Prove me wrong. Because if it says Ed, we've got troubles. And that little law enforcement motorcycle group that I researched, they're not the only ones. The ones that I had previously, the two motorcycle guys that I had previously done research on at Jody Sue's protests in Rogersville the year before, they're the pagans, and they are an outlaw biker group, and they have a home base right there in Greenville. And they are a troublesome biker group. And there is a direct link to a couple of guys that may or may not have been involved in that shooting that was on Beach Creek. Right, Jody Sue? So again, I'm going to ask Jody Sue to remove the black from the text messages and show us the name under the part that says did you show blank the pics and tell him what was going on? What pics and what was going on? That insinuates there was pictures of something going on in Beach Creek before the police was ever called, before the scream was ever supposedly heard. So let's hear it, Jody Sue. Whose name is under this text? Whose name's under this black mark? What pictures? Is it child P pictures? Is it pictures of Summer Hurt? What pictures? Oh, and you can talk about my level at spider tier, whatever, but I don't have anybody associated with my channel. There's nobody that does my research. I'm the only one that does my research. It's just me. I don't have any magic wheat trees or anything like that crazy mess. So we, the people, want to know did you show blank pictures and tell him what was going on? We want to know what was going on. We, the people, have a right to know. We are concerned citizens. And as far as your clean phones go, don't you know, look, as soon as you touch these, lay your phone down on your computer like that, is no longer clean. It's got germs all over it. dumbass. You sound silly. You sound paranoid. Get some sleep. Turn your child loose from that environment. Let me tell you what's going to happen, Jody Sue. You are basically holding those kids hostage by mental and emotional manipulation. Your son is going to go to the military, and he's going to come back changed. And he's going to come back changed in a way that you're not going to have that power over him anymore. And he's going to have the strength and the mind to walk away from you. And when he does walk away from you, you're going to be lucky if he ever comes back and he ever speaks to you again. Because once he leaves that type of environment and he cleanses himself of it, he may not have the want, the energy, or the desire to ever want to live that way again. He may not want to give you that kind of control back ever again. And if he ever gets married and he gives his wife that control, you are out cold. One thing about the parental alienation and the emotional manipulation is it usually turns around on you. So, and that's truth. That's just truth. You need to take that girl and enroll her in school and let her have friends and expose her to the outside environment. But that's what you're afraid of, huh? That she will talk to people on the outside. That she will have a desire to walk out that door. And you will have nobody. And that's what you're scared of. That's selfish. And it's abuse. Get over yourself. Get up, take a shower, put some makeup on your face. Get off of YouTube and try to go make you a life. Andy's not coming back. And girl, look, he done you wrong. I'm not going to take that from you. No woman deserves to have a man run around, cheat on them. That's terrible. But you're letting him have that power and that control over you to keep you in that box. He's not keeping you in that box. You're keeping you in that box. And you're the only one that's got the key to let yourself out. And that's as real as I can get with you, Jody Sue. Turn yourself loose. Get out of Summer's case. Don't get up any more than you already have. Be real with yourself. Be real with your daughter. Start making some kind of change. And that's just the way I see it. You're the biggest mind fuck that you have. Sorry, guys. I did not mean to get to talking to her and forget about y'all, but somebody needed to tell her. And that's the truth. That's what she's doing. And if somebody wants to clip that portion and send it to her, y'all got my permission to clip that portion and send that to her. But I have got my best friend over here in the hospital. He has got to have open heart surgery in the morning. And I've got to take him some things. And I've got to go pick up his clothes and stuff and bring them home and wash them and just pick up his stuff that's in his room because he's going to have to be in intensive care for a couple of days. And I guess when he gets out of the hospital, I'll either bring him home with me or I will go to his house and stay with him for a few days and take care of him because he's single and he doesn't have anybody to take care of him. And I don't want to have to see him go into a nursing home for rehab, which is just rehab, but still, I've got all this medical experience and know-how. Nobody wants to go if they don't have to. So, he's my friend and he took care of me when I was sick. So, that's what friends do for one another, I guess. So. Or that's the way southern driveways work in my neck of the woods. But I love you guys, and I may hit y'all back up from the hospital. Do some live streams from there while I'm just sitting there waiting. Well, hey, E, thanks for joining us. But, I'll hit you guys back up from the hospital while I'm just sitting there waiting. I'm sure I'll be worried and just sitting and probably just need y'all's ear for a while. But y'all have always been there for me, so I love you guys so much, and I hope that y'all have a good night. See y'all later.